Blog Talk Radio.
Continuously heat up like big worm perm. It gets way critical like you colliding with the gods. Your vision's blurred like you riding in the fog. Dodge they bullet by juveniles who weren't afraid to pull it. Instead of education, I got a demonstration of what CNN continues to utter about. Wise with wisdom, I'm taking the scenic route. Heavily devoted and complex, like your flat screen television remote is the main focus is to make you understand these lectures I perform R&D like Lance Armstrong. Without the substance, this is lyrical porn for the public. Poetic justice while I sip my tea. UNIT wild like Queen Latifah. Motherfucker, it's Billy Palm Tree.
Oh man. If I ever said I was the best, right now it's time to say yeah, motherfucker, keep on praying. Oh man. If I ever said I was the best, right now it's time to say yeah, motherfucker.
Yo, hey yo, I pull up to the spot, head nappy like I'm Bosky, got the herringbone, clean, good trapper queen like I'm Fetty Wap, a nigga always dropping some heat, fuck a repeat buttons, known to never suffer defeat, so why they keep frontin' on the guard to make you atheist, you hate this shit, not in my radius, every beat be getting 86, yeah, I'm godly with the paper, make your pen game, that's paperweight, been known for chasing cake, this is paperweights on no man, forever on my grind like playing slow jams, y'all niggas acting fool, how you cool with your no fans, yeah, they claim they homie, we can't trust them cause they hella phony. Hate can never hold me, second checks until I flood the rollie. Getting my cake up and nothing to best up on these lame fucks. Every line divine, big co-signed by the brain truster. Modern day Einstein, life remain a lifeline. Name the brightest stars I outshine. Christ.
Oh man. If I ever said I was the best, right now it's time to say yeah, motherfucker, keep on praying. Time to say it, motherfucker, keep on praying.
You're tuned in to another episode of Two with Tuesdays right here on Indie Fire with your girl, Nakia. And that was Billy Palm Trees featuring Keith Christ with the Bronic off of the DeLorean album. That dropped last, let me see, March, April, May? Yeah. One of those months. Now, I played that simply because this coming Friday, the 26th, the Monte Carlo album is dropping. I kind of feel like Billy got something going on with those cars. You got DeLorean, you got the Monte Carlo, and I'm very disappointed in Billy because he hasn't told me anything about Monte Carlo. It just popped up out of nowhere, and he was like, yeah, and I was like, no, because you didn't tell me nothing about it. Like, I don't know if this is the all R&B album or if this is like the follow-up to DeLorean or what. Like, I don't know nothing. So hopefully on Thursday's show I'll actually get to talk about it just a little bit, and maybe, just maybe, he'll slip me something to play, just something. Like, I'm going to whisper in his ear. Y'all know I'm very, persuasive. So I'm going to whisper in his ear, and I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to play something on Thursday. And, because I know you guys are waiting because, I've been playing Billy like all year long. So hopefully, no, I'm not going to say hopefully. On Thursday, we're going to play something off of Monte Carlo, because I like debuting new music and new books and new titles and all that good stuff. So we're going to play something off Monte Carlo on Thursday. So y'all be anticipating that like I am. All right, but DeLorean is available on all music platforms. Make sure that you're still continuing to support Billy Palm Trees with DeLorean as well as the upcoming Monte Carlo. All right? released earlier today was the MTV VMA nominations list. And I had it. I was very diligent, and it was given to me. And guess what, guys? I lost it. I know, bad me. I talked long enough, I might find it. I might shuffle some papers and be able to find it. In the meantime, I do want to say rest in peace to, look, I don't even have that neither. Damn, I know, guys. Just charge it to the fact that I had a lot going on this week. You know, if you follow me on social media, I had that statistics class that's been whooping my ass, and I'm finally done with. Like, I'm done with school until January if I decide to go back. Like, statistics took me out of here. I'm talking about it took me out of here. Like, I couldn't take no more. Like, I had an anxiety attack right in the middle. It wasn't even the middle. It was the first 25 minutes of the final exam on Saturday. Like, I already knew that I was not going to make it because it was my first face-to-face exam in 3 years. And I got up in there, and, like, the proctor was like, well, you got to sit in this seat right here. And I was like, nah, lady, I need to sit in this seat right here in case I need to go out the room, pop some more pills or whatever. And she looked at me like, what? And I was like, yeah, like, I have really bad anxiety, and I don't think I'm going to be able to make it, So she was like, yeah, sit right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, 25 minutes into the exam, I was doing good, like, 7 questions in. I was, like, feeling it. All right, good, I'm good. And all of a sudden, I looked at the computer screen, and the words started to dance. Like, I mean, literally, they were dancing, like doing some African tribal dance or some shit. And I thought, okay. And I blinked, and I swear, like, one of the P's on the screen licked his tongue out at me, like aha type of shit. And I started crying. Like, literally, I started crying. And the guy next to me was like, you good? And maybe he shouldn't have said anything. If he hadn't said nothing, I probably would have been, oh, no, I wouldn't have been all right. He was like, you good? And I was like, no. And the lady came up to me, and she was like, come on, let's go outside. She started praying. I mean, she was calling down the heavens. She was praying, and she was speaking in tongues, and I was feeling it, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be all right. But in the back of my head, I was like, no, you need to go get your meds. You really need to go get your meds. And she was praying, and I was really feeling it. And I was like, no, like, I need to get my meds. I really do. I need to get them. And so she was like, I'm going to get them, right? And I was, like, pacing the hallways and shit. I was pacing the hallways. And she came back out, and she was like, take your meds, drink your water. You all who take Xanax, it don't take them shits long to kick in, right? I took 2 of them. Mind you, I'd already took 2 of them before I went in the classroom. Had a shot, all right, or 2. I was good when I went in there, but those lines and those mathematical equations, and we talking statistics, so we're not talking about regular equations, all right? We talk about mu's and sigmas and alphas and, like, factorials and, all that type of shit. And they started doing some crazy shit across that screen. And, yeah, needless to say, I took the Xanax and I was good. But when I went back in there, I was no more good. Like, I just kind of sat there like, yeah, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I was just, like, feeling everything but that exam, And I just sat there. And I came to terms with the fact that that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna sit there and like, something just came over me. Like, you know what? You've worked really hard for this degree, and let it be. And this calm just came over me. And I'm not talking about the medication either. This calm just came over me. Like, let it be. I got you. Let it be. So I sat there until 10 minutes, before the exam was over. I clicked submit, and, the exam talks back to you like, you sure you want to submit? Like, I know what I'm doing, Well, the proctor let the professor know that, I had an anxiety attack, and, he reached out to me yesterday and was like, I'm so sorry. I hope that you're better now, and I want to give you the opportunity to retake this. I looked at your grades. I know that this class is going to stop you from getting your degree. A lot of people didn't know that. Even though I graduated in May, this class stopped me from getting my degree. And so I let him know. He gave me his number. He reached out to me through email, but he gave me his number, and I told him, I said, sir, it's not my first time, this isn't my first degree, and I'm good with it. I know I worked very hard to keep this 4.0 GPA, but I'm good with it. You know what I'm saying? Some things are just, my mental health is a lot more important than this piece of paper. And, when I went through what I went through on Saturday, like I can't physically or emotionally, mentally go through that again. I can't do that. And God, you know this is one of my platforms. So at this moment, like I want to be able to live. I want to be able to breathe right now. And so I said all of that to say, not stalling, trying to find this list. I said all that to say I might go back for this one class in January. But right now, I want to take time for myself. Like I literally want to breathe. I spoke with an author who will be on the show next Tuesday. It's kind of overwhelming for me to not have to wake up and do anything school-related because I've been on grinding for the past 3 years. And it's overwhelming that I actually could lay in bed and not do anything today. I mean, I had to go to work, but it was an option, you know. And just to be able to take a mental health day and just to be able to breathe, because self does come first. And it's taken me 3 years to realize that self comes first. And, you know, my children and I've been so focused on, you know, earning this degree, when I had to have this breakdown on Saturday, you know, and this something, you know, clicked and it made me realize, you know, well, it wasn't something, you know, the man upstairs made me realize that, hey, it's going to be all right. You know what I mean? And you have to have that knock upside your head every now and again that lets you know that I am in control no matter what. I am in control. And every now and again, you know, I spoke with the author last Thursday. There has to be that breaking point. That light has to shine. It has to click and let you know that, you know, you can't do it all by yourself. And so I'm glad, even though it happened that way, I'm so glad that it happened. And I'm at peace with the fact that, you know, I went through all of that just to get where I am. So if you need to take that type of mental health day or month or whatever the case may be, take it. It's so worth it. I tell you, it's so worth it. But I do want to say rest in peace to Art Neville. What I was trying to find. I knew he was with the Neville brothers. I wasn't sure which one it was. But Art Neville of the Neville brothers passed away on yesterday, the 22nd. He again was with the Neville brothers. He was a singer and keyboardist and the co-founder of the funk band The Meters, as well as the Neville brothers. He passed away at the age of 81. His health had been declining. And at the present time, there was no cause of death. And this was as of yesterday, so I'm not sure if now they do have a cause of death. But again, he was 81 years old, so rest in peace to him. It does not look like I am going to be able to find that very extensive VMA list. Wasn't all that good this year. Looks like Taylor Swift and Ariana Grande led the list, followed by Billie Eilish and Lil Nas X. Drake was in there a couple of times. Cardi B was in there a couple of times. Kendrick Lamar. Anderson .Paak was in there a couple of times. Trying to think of the relevant people. John Legend, I think 1 or 2 times was in there. Yeah, and that's about it. From now until August the 15th, there are 14 awards that the fans can go and vote on, viewer choice type awards. Don't remember when the air date is. So if you're interested in the VMA awards, of course, go research it, go check it out, find out what those awards are that you can go vote on. And, good luck to all of those artists that have been nominated in the various categories. I will say that Solange has been nominated for quite a few, like cinematography, choreography, those type of awards. So best of luck to her as well. If you're just tuning in, you're live right here on Tula Tuesdays. I'm right here on Indie Fire. My guest this evening has gone from just like a friend of a friend to, I want to say, like family. I mean, really, really, really family. Like when you're on the show, you become family. But I consider him like a brother. And we talked, I want to say it was yesterday. Like I had a moment yesterday. Like I always have moments on social media. But I had a moment yesterday, and I lashed out on Facebook. And he was the first one to hit me up in my inbox, like, yay, sis, you all right? And I was like, yeah. And I was very vocal. Like my response to him was something that I normally would have told like somebody that I kick it with, you know, on a regular basis. But I was drinking like first thing in the morning, like I normally do. Like some of you guys like wine. I'm sorry, some of you like coffee in the morning. I like wine in the morning. Right? So, I my response to him was he probably sat back and like, what the hell, But I consider him to be like a brother now. He has sent a lot of artists. A lot of authors, so literary artists, to the show this year. If you're wondering where all of these authors and novelists have come from, they have come by way of this phenomenal author. I have had the opportunity to read one of his books. I owe him a review. I owe him a lot of things, but, I will get to that. But I had the opportunity to read the book that we're going to talk about this evening, and Set on the Edge, it wasn't a book that you could put down. Once you pick it up, you have to continue reading. You could put it down, but you're going to come back and pick it up, and you may put it down again, but you're going to come back because it keeps you. It's not a suspense book, but it just keeps you on the edge of your seat, like, okay, well, what's going to happen next? All right, so what's going to happen next? And, oh, hell, it really went that way? Wow, it's that type of book. It keeps your curiosity peaked. I'm talking about L Beaty. He was born Fredrick Lamar Beaty. He found the love of writing early in childhood, writing short stories and poetry, and even creating a comic book with his twin brother, Cedric, where he served as a colorist and contributed to the writing of the character dialogue. He traveled between Georgia and California, settling in California for a while to focus on music writing and creation. The call of home became too great, so he moved back to Georgia to focus again on music, but the call of writing was something that he could not resist. He started back writing short stories and poems, submitting some of his work in local and national contests, gaining some national recognition. Deciding to shift his focus to novel-length work, he began research on his first book. He shifted his focus from research to writing when he started A Broken Circle, his first published work from Diamond Kut Publications in 2017. Since then, he has hosted the Author's Alley radio show powered by Diversity of the Mind's Blazing Heat Radio. The 3-year Navy veteran currently resides in Tampa, Florida, with his wife, Erica, and their 3 children. In the fire listening audience, I present to you again my guest for the evening, L Beaty. You know what? I was reading. I forgot you had a twin brother. I forgot you were into music. I forgot a whole lot of shit. That's bad. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm better than I was yesterday. So that's a come up.
That was funny. That was funny as hell. Seriously.
I mean,
that was really
partial.
funny.
I'm drunk. Hey, yo, I'm not drunk today. I mean, I'm still partial, but at least I'm not drunk today. Yeah.
I'm gonna need you to get your life together.
I'm trying. The struggle is so real. Trust me, the struggle is real.
I don't blame you. Not one bit.
So, what? I know you were here earlier this year.
Right.
I know following you on social media, I know there has been a lot that has transpired since you were here. What, January? February? February. So what's been going on since you were here?
Yeah, man. A lot has been going on since the last time we interviewed me, man. Besides having a book out, I'm working on the second part of that, which is A Road Less Traveled. I've also kind of started back doing my blogs, which are going to be something that's going to be more like a monthly thing. I also started, I got a lot of things going on besides the blog and besides the second book. I'm also partnered with a very good friend of mine who's a well-known philanthropist in out here in the Tampa area. I partnered with him to kind of help him with his cause in human trafficking and teaching kids etiquette and things of that nature.
Really?
So I've been a little busy. Yeah.
right there for a minute. I want to talk about that. Because that's one of the platforms that I work with here. So how did you get, and I know when you were here last, you talked about wanting to write in that direction. But how did you get involved with him?
So how I got involved with him was a few years ago. Me and my wife went to one of his events called the Gentleman's Ball. So that's how I actually met this gentleman. It was a good event. We had a nice conversation. Me and my wife started going to the events regularly. Over time, me and this gentleman started building a rapport. Talked about some things via text, via phone, also in person about how I want to kind of include a little bit of social justice into the human rights thing. So we've been in talks about that for a good little minute, and I'm also helping him write his book.
Interesting. So you mentioned the youth as well. Does he go out and speak to the youth in the schools? Does he have do things at community centers? Or how does he incorporate the youth with human trafficking awareness?
He goes to schools, goes to places like Job Corps locations and talks to them, and they have like a little session and things of that nature. So he speaks about etiquette, how a man should treat a woman, the 30 rules for a modern gentleman, and how the rules for a modern lady and things of that nature. He also teaches them how to suit measurements and things of that nature, but he also teaches them the human rights part of it as well.
You're just talking, and I forgot to unmute the phone. Yeah. All right. So when it comes to the kids, is it all about etiquette, or does he give them and show them the warning signs of human trafficking? Does he put the fear of the Lord in them when it comes to human trafficking?
Well, this is something that's most definitely mentioned. There are other people that work with him in that aspect, in that particular aspect.
Gotcha. So I don't want to spend too much time on that. It just piqued my curiosity that you were involved in that now, because we're actually starting another session. The organization that I work with, because my city, my state ranks very high as far as arrest for human trafficking. But we're starting a new chapter for the organization coming up next month.
Mm-hmm.
And so that just kind of, that you're involved with that kind of just, piqued my curiosity. All right, so jumping back into the book. I want to talk about the book.
All right.
Like I said, I owe you a review. And when you were here last, you dropped just nuggets, bits and pieces of the book. I'm talking about Broken Chains. For those who have not read it, can you just give our listeners just a synopsis of the book?
So, bring this book really speaks about what is known, what's not known, what's seen and what's not seen. It speaks about real situations that certain people go through on a daily basis, but it also speaks about the strength, the perseverance, the courage that these people muster up or gather up to be able to leave those situations and move forward. Um, so it's not the situations I don't over glorify. It's more about how they leave the situation, how they overcome and push through the situation.
Who's your favorite character in the book?
Favorite character would have to be Jared. Very cool, very calm, stoic type of person. Um, he has no problem with showing people how he feels. Um, However, he does hide a lot of his emotions, because of what he's experienced.
Now, I've had so many authors on the show, I don't remember who said what, honestly. This book will be the book where you're going to pull each character and have a book about each character. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the role less traveled I'm gonna focus on two characters. So the two characters I'm focusing on will be LJ and Karina, and then the next book's gonna focus on Jared and Levitica.
All right. And Jared and Levitica are the couple, correct?
They have a blossoming relationship. However, they really don't know which direction they want to go in at this particular point, because they've both been through these traumatic events, and they don't want a repeat of the same events.
I'm catching up now. I should have reread the book. I should have made this something to kind of just bring me back up to speed again. So,
Nah, it's cool.
When you first started writing and you stopped writing, and then you realized you had this passion for writing, what brought you back to? We all have something that we desire to do. We fall off from it, but we realize that there is something that's within us that brings us back to what we love doing. What was deep within you that said, hey, this is what you desire to do. This is what you're passionate about. What was that was deep within you that said, hey, this is where you need to be. This is what you need to do.
To know that I had that I can, number one, affect lives with by the words that I write, but also knowing that to know that I have that are souls trapped, that are souls within me that I can reach through my writing. That's kind of one of the things that pulled me back into it.
Interesting that you said that. You deep down inside, you believe that you write because you know that you have a gift.
Right.
Correct.
But for me, it's not always about. It's not. Yeah. But for me, it's not always about the gift. It's about who I reach with that gift.
You know where I'm going with this, right?
Mhm. Oh yeah. I do.
So, hypothetically speaking, if an individual had a projected fan base, a targeted fan base, and they weren't meeting that fan base, but deep down inside, they were doing what it was they were passionate about. Do you feel that that person should say, you know what, I'm going to throw in the towel. I can't do this because I'm not reaching the fan base, but yet I'm doing what I'm passionate about?
That's a good question. and to kind of answer the hypothetical part with the realistic part is that if I was in front of that person and they said that to me, I would tell them, don't stop doing what you're doing, because eventually the people that you want to reach will eventually come around, and they will reach out to you. The one thing that I've learned through through my literary journey, and also just by having stalwart people by my side, like my wife, and some of the people that I've some of the loyal people that I've met, in my literary journey, is that you keep pushing forward no matter what, because those people that are by your side are going to stay with you. And as I stated before, the support and the support and the accolades will come. It's just that if you have to be, there's a patience about it.
Mhm. And do you feel that you're the type of and I find this with musical artists, I find this with literary artists. A lot of people will look and see artists putting out hit after hit, or a author putting out book after book, and see that they themselves are not as successful. Do you feel that you're the type of author that you have the patience to be able to sit back and wait until your time comes?
You have to, I do. Something that I've learned with my spouse is that, you have to be patient about things. You have to let things come when they come, but you also have to, put elements of, of faith and prayer into that too, because those things are stalwart for those. If you're looking to have that particular type of success, and you can be doing everything that you're supposed to do. You can be putting out hit after hit, or song after song, or book after book, and some people still not able to reach the audience that they're looking to reach. But little by little, the more people begin to talk about you and put a buzz out there, the more people begin to gain interest in who you are and what you do. That's when the curiosity comes. That's when the people will start asking the questions, and then they'll start asking you questions about who are you and what do you do. We'd like to know more about you.
What does literary success look like to you?
Literary success to me is not based upon monetary value. It's based upon human life impact. All the making the royalties is good, and that's all well and gravy. However, if I'm not impacting someone's life, then that's not success to me.
Mhm. Well, for you, when was the first time that you realized that your words and what you wrote had power and was effective in the lives of others?
When my wife actually read the book that I wrote, to see how she reacted to it, meant a whole hell of a lot. It meant a whole hell of a lot just to see her reaction and to say, good job, babe. This was very, very good. That meant a lot to me.
Was she unbiased?
As much as she could be. I know with her, her opinions are her thoughts and opinions are always have been unbiased, and it's just and she bases what she says about what I do about my work on or material fact.
I know when I speak to music artists, when I manage music artists, I always get them to have those who are not family and true friends to listen to their music, because sometimes those are the individuals who will sugarcoat and tell you what you want to hear. They won't give you their honest opinions on your music. And so when you send your music to a station, then they send you back and what the hell is this shit, because you had your auntie tell you that, oh, this is fire, when in actuality it was garbage. So do you send your work out to other people who will, let you know, like, Fred, no, this isn't it right here. The wording in this paragraph is all wrong. Or, do you have, I guess they're called beta readers, yeah, like I'm supposed to be doing, that will tell you, Fred, this is wrong. Or do you have people that just testify to you and nod their head and say, yes, they tell you what you want to hear? How does that work?
You know what? The people that have read the book, most of the reviews have been generally positive. Between to have beta readers and folks like that would I think would help me out tremendously. I know that Miss Susie has a copy of it, and she's a reader, so she knows her stuff. So anything that her and my spouse say, I know that that's coming from a place of knowing who I am as an individual and knowing the potential that I have.
Have you set goals for the L Beaty brand?
Funny thing about that, when I actually started becoming more and more involved in writing, not only writing books, but the one thing I didn't see that that I also write for Mr. Gerald's magazine. So I also do that. So as far as goals, I only had one short-term goal when I published the book, and that was just to at least that was to get it published. Number one, that was the short-term goal. Now that I see the book gaining a little traction, I begin to kind of set little smaller short-term goals, but also culminating into a much more long-term goal to try to not only right now I'm all my goals short-term, at least for the time being anyway.
And there's nothing wrong with that. At least you have goals. And as long as you're accomplishing each goal. I feel like don't have 20 goals and you're trying to work on all 20 goals at one time. That's my problem. If you have, 2 to 3 short-term goals and you complete one and then you go to the next one, or if you're working on 2 and you complete those 2 and then you go to 2 more, as long as you have, and make sure that you have, even though you say the short term, make sure that you have a time on the short term. If you say they're 2-week short-term goals, or they're a month or in 2-week short-term goals, make sure that you have a time limit. Just don't say short-term. Make sure you give yourself a time limit. Hold yourself accountable, or have someone that holds you accountable so that you're getting them done. And then add more to them so that you're getting them done. There's nothing wrong with a short-term goal. Just like I said, don't have 20 like me. Run yourself down. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Look.
And that you continue to prosper, and your brand continues to flourish.
Right. Indeed. I mean, I just hadn't looked beyond just publishing the book at that particular point in time. Now and again, as I see the book began to gain a little traction. Now I'm beginning to think a lot more forward now to see, where can I take this? What avenues could I use to take this, to move this forward now?
Right. And you have vision because you're already thinking about, the two characters in this book and then the two characters in the next book. So you have the vision. Don't keep everything bottled up in your head. Make sure that you write it down so you can see everything. What's the Bible verse? So write the vision and make it clear, make it plain, or you have to be able. You can't keep it in your head. You got to be able to see it. Make sure everything is seen. And with vision boards also help. Like my home office is full of sticky notes and color coordinated papers and poster boards, and just you got to see things. You got to be able to see it. People come in my home office and say, "What in the world?" Yeah, it's crazy in here. So, make sure you got to be able to see everything. You got to not just be able to visually see it in your head, but your eyes have to be able to visually see everything that your mind is visualizing as well. If that makes any sense.
Right. Indeed. Yeah. It does.
If you're just tuning in, you're live right here on Indie Fire with Nakia on Two Lit Tuesdays with our special guest, novelist and published author L Beaty.
Hey yo, what's good? It's your boy Jerusalem from the Scarfella Music Group, and you on the air with the hottest station, Indie Fire, with your host, Lil Timmy and Nakia, right here on the station bringing you all the hottest hip hop hits. Indie Fire, let's get it.
Well, let me shout out all of my ex-co-hosts too. I promise I will show all of them some love. I talked to one or two of them the other day. So a shout out to Delson and Rich, and who came after that? Lil Timmy, and rest in peace to you, King. Yes, so we keeping it solo for a while because apparently Nakia doesn't do well with men. So shout out again. Shout out to all of my former co-hosts. Yes. Don't be laughing at me, Fred. That ain't funny. I don't do well with men.
I'm not.
I don't do well with men. That's what somebody told me. I don't do well with men, and they said unless they're business partners, I don't do well with women either. So I do well alone. So I'm asking this question to all of my guests. And it's important. It's important to me because I want to know, where your mind is on a social point of view. What have you?
All right.
What's the last thing that you learned?
The last thing that I've learned.
Yes.
That awake and aware are two different things.
Okay. Now, what's the last thing that you have taught someone?
Yeah, to never give up on what you to never give up on what you feel is right, and always stand for that. Stand for that.
Okay. And how can you take what you have been taught, or what you have taught, and what you have learned, and make them applicable as a writer?
Best way to answer that question is that, me as a writer, as a writer, in all cases, we inject a little bit of our life into the page. So we also inject a little bit of what we know, what we've learned, and also what we taught into that page. So in any story, there's a small lesson to be learned. or small or something else to be imparted upon. Um, that's something I try to inject into what I write.
Nice. How do you feel that as a writer, L Beaty is making a difference in the world?
Mm-hmm. By reaching out to folks, by this book that I've written, this helps try to help reach out to folks who have been victims of domestic abuse and violence. If I can get them the chance, if I can get them to switch their mindset, even just a small bit, counts as a win for me.
And then we talk about why you chose to go this route in this book.
Even though
I
did, but I
know it is different, and I don't want to call it obstacles, and I don't want to call it struggles. It's different areas in life that a lot of people have overcome. But why do you choose to tell these stories?
Well, excuse me. One part of that was a personal struggle. That's one. Number two, I've had a couple of people that I know personally who's experienced that type of thing. The main reason that I want to be able to give them not only a voice but also an option. You don't have to sit there and be in that situation all the days of your life. There are other options available. There are other options available to you. You can live your life to the fullest without being in that situation. You just have to be able to walk. You just have to be brave enough to walk through the door.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
Yes, indeed. Very.
That is
very
so
true.
In writing this book and going forward and reading your reviews that you've been getting, even though you have in your mind what you want to write about next, going forward after that, do you feel that you will continue to write about the things that are most important to you, what you've experienced in life, what you know that others experienced in life, or will you take not advice, but what your readers would like for you to write about? What path will you take after this set of books?
And the funny part about it, I haven't thought that far ahead. However, I know that the readers, I take any advice or any reviews from the readers very seriously, because those reviews help me as a writer to improve. As far as continuing to write, to continue to go on the path that I'm currently traveling as far as writing in regards to that aspect. I probably could see myself still writing in regards to that aspect. Because so things like domestic abuse, things like depression and suicide, loss. These are issues that a lot of us sweep up under the rug, and to bring light to them, that it could also bring some sort of assistance to them, to those people who suffer from these conditions.
Now, Another question that I ask authors: how do you stay focused and not distracted? Now, writing these type of books, how do you stay in the right frame of mind so that you do not fall a victim of depression because you're writing this type of material?
Is to admittedly, and especially we're writing this book, and then also, in the process of writing the second book, especially with the first book, it was a little difficult, especially writing Karina's story, because it was so emotionally charged. Brought about a lot of strong emotions within me, to where I had to kind of step away from it for a little bit and then come back to it. How I keep myself, the one thing that I do that I in focus is that, you have to have something else to take your mind off of it, off, what you're concentrating on. Video games is a vice of mine, so I do use that in some instances. Also, music helps a lot. Music helps a lot. I listen to a lot of, Knife Wonder, Jay Dilla, Nicolay. Those three artists are, who have regular play on my phone. So listening to those guys, they help keep me focused, but they also kind of, when I'm in that spot to where I need to step away and kind of recollect myself, I can always pop in. I can always listen to a Jay Dilla beat or a Nicolay beat or a Knife Wonder beat, and I'm good. I'm good to go.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. I think I asked you, what one thing could you do to better yourself as a writer, and it was stop playing so much video games. But I think with writing this type of material, and it bringing up so many trigger points, you have to have a distraction. Like, I couldn't sit down and write this at all. And I couldn't write a page without having to get up, and my imaginary ADD would kick in, because I would have so many, so much would trigger, so many, emotional baggage that I still carry. I couldn't sit down and write this. So I salute you, for being able to just sit down and write from this point of view. Would you ever venture into any other type of genre?
I've read a lot of Tom Clancy, Larry Bond, and W.E. Griffin type books. So I've read those type of books. So I do want to kind of jump into that type of that type of genre. I'm actually working on that as well. Working on something like that as well.
Okay.
But I also kind of looking at comic books a little. I'm looking at comic books a little bit and see if I want to submit some work to maybe Marvel or DC. The funny part about me is that my inspiration as a writer didn't come from novelists like Tom Clancy or Stephen King or James Patterson or even Anne McCaffrey, to say the least, and to say that not saying it, not to discredit those type of writers because they're good at what they do. My inspiration to write came from the most unlikely of sources, like comic book writers, like Neil Gaiman, Brian Michael Bendis, Frank Miller, who's a writer and an artist as well. So my inspiration to write came from those guys. A lot of people look at that as kind of a funny path, but I don't look at it as a funny path, because comic book writers, pretty much do the same thing that I'm doing, except they're writing with established canon and established characters.
Well, your bio says that you created the comic book with your brother.
Mhm. Surely did.
So it's like going back to your roots.
Exactly. I was enamored by those guys like Stan Lee, Jim, Frank Kirby, those guys. I was enamored with comic books well before I became enamored with writing and things of that nature. But because to try to bring relevant subjects into a comic book, that was big. For Stan Lee to bring things such as racism and all those type of things into a comic book, that was, to me, that was large. And it affected me as a younger person, but also it kind of wound back to me, came back to me as I started to become more and more enamored with writing, and to look at how they pin those stories, and also compare that to comic book writers today and things of that nature. Um, Is something that I look at as something that's one of the main influences for me.
I've never been able to get into comic books. I don't know how to read them. I can look at the pictures, flip the pages. I don't know if you're supposed to read from the left, if you go up and down. Oh, I can't. Can't get into.
Okay, so let's clear a little bit of dispel that room, like some misconceptions with American comic books. American comic books you read from left to right. Now, if you get like a Japanese comic book or what they call manga, that's read from right to left.
Yeah, that's what my kids read.
Well, manga.
Yeah.
It's and that's the other thing that I've actually gotten into a lot lately too. I actually read a little bit of manga now. The reason I do that is because I'm one of those type of general guys that I want to see how this writer developed this character, how they what they do to flesh out this character, to bring more of the character's personality into the story. To me, comic books, and also manga, but also to a lesser extent, American comic books do a very good job of doing that by fleshing out the story, but also fleshing out the characters, but also making those characters also well-rounded instead of just one-sided.
I don't see the fascination. I can't get into it at all.
Well, like I said, I'll tell you what. Well, a lot of comic books also tend to humanize their characters. If I can recall, I think there was an Iron Man issue where Stan Lee talked about Tony Stark's alcoholism, and he brought it not only as a issue for the main character, but also as a kind of a social issue too. So I think comic books also have a better way of tackling those type of issues because they're able to tackle them in a more realistic way.
I tried to read Black Panther after the movie came out, and since I saw the movie, I thought maybe now I can go follow along with the comic book, but yeah, that didn't help.
Well, the funny thing about comic book movies, movies that are based on comics, they follow the basic canon of the character, but also it gives gives that the person that's doing the screenwriting a little bit of leeway to kind of experiment a little bit with the character, to kind of explore a little bit more about the person's motivations and things of that nature. I always tell folks, if you're gonna watch the movie, if you're gonna watch a comic book movie, you might want to read a little bit of the comic first, just to kind of get an understanding of what it is.
Yeah, like I had no idea what Black Panther was all about. I just knew that if you was colored, you needed to go see Black Panther. That's all I knew. And, you know, my kids tried to be like, yeah, Mom, you don't remember from back in the day? And my boyfriend at the time was like, yeah, come on. You know Black Panther back in the day. And I'm like, yeah, no.
But think about it though. If you watch the movie, you kind of see there are themes that the comic book also introduced that the comic book introduced well before the movie was even out. When the movie came out, if you watch the movie, if you kind of, and I'm one of those type of people that kind of look into a little bit more into a movie. If you think about it, you look at it, there's a point where T'Challa is more of a nationalist, meaning he was going to put Wakanda first. Through the course of the movie,
right.
He becomes a lot more open and things of that nature. So, there are, comic books have a good way of pulling out certain things, or bringing out social issues. That's one of the reasons why, if I get a hold to a good comic book, I will read it, or if I get a hold of some manga, that I will read it, and not only just because for the entertainment value, but also for a little bit of knowledge of kind of understanding why the writer decided to go in this direction with a character, or why did the writer decide to hold back on this character for that reason, or whatever reason, or whatnot.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, Fred, we are down to the final. Yeah, we're overboard now. I do want to go ahead and give you the opportunity to get your social media contact information out, so those who are listening live, if they're interested, of course, in purchasing your book, any of your future books, if they're interested in having you write any information or any art, material for their magazine, any short stories, any, comic book subscription information, whatever they'd be interested in contacting you for, the floor is now yours for you to go ahead and get your contact information out. Again, for those listening live, and for those who may come back and listen on a playback show, the floor is now yours.
Well, thank you very much for number one. First and foremost, thank you very much for having me, Nakia. It's a pleasure to be on the show, number one, as always, and I do appreciate it. Everybody, Broken Chains is available now. You can pick this book up on paperback and ebook on Amazon.com. You can just search L Beaty, and they'll take you right directly to the link. The paperback is $10. The ebook is $2.99. Also, if you guys are interested in any more of my writing, you can also check me out in the Life magazine. That's a Christian-based magazine where they talk about not only Christian issues but also political and social issues. If you want to check that out, you can go to www.thelifemagazine.com. Print copies are $4.99. Digital copies are $1.99. Actually, guys, just to let you guys know, the July issue is free. So if you want to go to the website and download the July issue, you're more than welcome to do so. Also, you can also check, if you want to email me, you can email me at authorflb@gmail.com. You can also catch me on Facebook at Fredrick Beaty. You can also catch me at FL Beaty. That is my author page. You can catch me on Twitter at FLB, and also on Instagram at Gan72.
Well, there you have it. Make sure that you're following the show on all social media platforms at IndieFire. That's ENVIEFIYA. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms. That's The Girl in Motion. That's GRLNMOTION. Again, thank you, Fred, for being here with us this evening. You could have been anywhere, but you did take the time to spend this hour here with us. We are so grateful. As always, once you're on the show, your family, you're welcome back at any time. Make sure that you're tuning in on this coming Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll have our music artist, Deb Bula, here with us. And on Tuesday, we close out the month of July with author, urban Christian fiction artist, Chanel. She'll be here again with us. We are having a book release party, a title release, and I just found out that we are having a cover release. So I get it all here next Tuesday night. We're releasing the title. We are releasing the cover. I'm super excited to be here with her on next Tuesday. We close out the month of July. Beginning on next Thursday, we have a new time. We have another author, a pretty awesome young lady. As a matter of fact, don't quite remember her name, but I know she's awesome. Her name is Pamela. I do know that. And she has a book series. She's a pet lover, and this is a pet series that we'll be talking about on next Thursday. New show time, 6:30 to 7:30. And as always, I'm going to leave you with a quote. Music is life itself. What would this world be without good music, no matter what kind it is? That's Louis Armstrong. So until next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, have a good night.